Hello. In this unit, we're going to discuss how to avoid office realtor politics. And there's two aspects to it. Realtor to realtor when they're separate, and then also big teams. And here's the difference. In any realtor office, you're going to deal with people. And a lot of times, forgive me for saying this if somebody's listening, but it's a lot of women. And you're going to deal with a lot of people who feel competitive with each other, who compare each other to each other, and who talk bad about each other, and who may or may not be on good terms with each other. So if you hear gossip, what you need to do more than anything is take the high road. Don't get sucked into it. Even if you know it's true, even if you know the person's a crook, even if you know the person's a lazy, incompetent slug, don't say any of these things. You can think it. You can think it. It's okay. We all think it. But don't say it. The second it leaves your mouth, it is future ammunition for you to be poisoned in that office. If you say something and it's overheard by another realtor, you're dead meat. Or the realtor can take and turn around and say, yeah, I talked to your loan officer, John, and, I use him too sometimes, and, yeah, he said you're an idiot too. Everybody thinks you're a moron. And if you get into that, well, the problem is now you've ruined your relationship with that realtor. So what you always need to do is you just always need to tell people when gossip comes up, I don't know enough about the situation, so I'm just going to have to kind of trust you on that. And just leave it at that. Also, what you're going to deal with, and this is really where this conversation becomes really important, is if you're dealing with a large team of buyers and sellers agents under one main agent, one of the things you're going to struggle with is a lot of those buyers agents will feel like they're not getting paid enough to do what they do. They're going to say, yeah, I only get 30% and he gets 70%, so yeah, he's getting rich off my back, and blah, blah, blah. And they'll talk bad about their person sometimes, and I've had that happen, where they basically call him everything but a greedy bastard. I've had that happen. One of the things you need to do is be very, very careful not to insult the main agent of the team. You just always want to say, well, I'm sure that you do a good job for him, and I'm sure he gets you plenty of leads, and I'm sure you guys have a great relationship. What you want to do more than anything is avoid taking sides. If there's a dispute, or if the deal's going down badly, and that buyer's agent is getting mad at their senior agent because their senior agent is saying do this, this, and this, and the buyer's agent is saying to the team leader, no, I don't want to do this, don't get sucked in the middle of it. What I would encourage you to do is actually take the side of the team leader always, because the buyer's agent very well may get fired after that next deal, and I've had that happen, where I was working with a buyer's agent who was less professional, and I talked with the team leader, and the team leader said, well, let's just finish off this transaction, and then I'm probably going to cut him. And I just had to take the position that I'm going to work with this team leader, and he's going to be a future source of business, and that buyer's agent's days may be limited. So just always make sure you take sides, if you want to put it that way, and I hate to use that word take sides, but if you're going to take a position, always take it with the big money guy, because that's where your future income, that's where your revenue potential is. And you always have to be so careful and so diplomatic and make sure that you don't get into a place where you catch yourself gossiping or letting other people know what's going on in other realtors' businesses. I might know 20 or 30 realtors in the area of different brokerages, and I might know what's going on, and I might have the juice, but you know what? I don't want to squeeze it and talk about it. I don't want to get into gossip, because if I carry a tale, I'll bear a tale. And people that are gossipy will not trust you, and people that hear gossip will think less of you in the long term. So just take the high road and don't share what's going on in one brokerage or another brokerage. If there's drama there, don't say anything about it. Just say, you know what, I don't know enough about it, and I just simply do the loans here. Because a lot of times you'll get pumped for information, especially by other brokerages, where they say, oh yeah, so you've worked with one of the buyer's agents on that big mega team that does 150 transactions a month. What do they do for their business? And just simply say, listen, I keep things confidential as to what I learned from one real estate agent to the next, and I try my hardest not to create a competitive disadvantage to those that hand me an existing amount of business. I'll share with you general principles, but there's some things that I would have to know you better and work with you more before I could open up with you as to how all that works. And that way, not only do you give them a little cookie to make them think that, oh, if I give this guy more business, he'll help me out, but you also make it seem professional by the fact that you're not willing to sell out one of the other realtors by opening up what marketing they're doing or what marketing pieces are working for them, or how much the different team members are getting paid percentage-wise, or how the internal mechanisms fit together, because you will be able to start learning these things as you go, and you're going to want to make sure that you don't disclose information that would make that person distrust you even after you gave them the information, because they might think to themselves, well, he gave me all this information about the other guy. Gosh, I don't want to tell him anything because he might very well carry on and tell the next guy about what I'm doing. So a lot of realtors are real funny about that. They want to know everybody else's business, but then they get offended if you ever tell them anything about what they're doing. It's just kind of funny. It's just kind of human nature. But just make sure you take the high road, take the diplomatic road, and avoid as best as you can disputes between realtors, office politics, and being a carrier of gossip or tales from one brokerage to the next, because you can cause irreparable damage not only to your reputation, but also to another brokerage too, where if you say, oh yeah, those guys over at Remax, they're a bunch of real estate rapists. If you say something like that, you're in trouble. Or if you go, yeah, Coldwell Banker, they're a bunch of incompetents. Or, yeah, Century 21, all they ever get is all the new agents who can't actually afford to pay a desk fee like Remax. If you say these things, it's going to come back to haunt you. It will. I've opened my mouth and shot myself in the foot once or twice. I've learned my lesson, so I encourage you highly, learn off the mistakes of others, and don't carry gossip. Make sure that whatever you do, you keep things confidential, you keep things private, and you might think your own thoughts about things, and you might struggle with things, and you might think to yourself, these guys are a bunch of real estate rapists. They take advantage of their clients. But as long as you're closing business, and as long as it's legal and fairly ethical, I would encourage you just to keep your peace and just do your job and try to treat everybody with the maximum amount of respect possible. All right, let's go on to our next unit, which is how to avoid time vampires.